Hello, Keith Johnson here. Welcome to our show Ghost Star N.E.A.R. On this episode, please join the crew at New England Anomalies Research as we road trip haunted Pawtucket, Rhode Island. The Blackstone River and the old Congregational Church up ahead. Here are some of the old mill buildings in this area. Very historic district. Until recently, my nephew, Craig Quigley, was working maintenance in one of these buildings. Of course, those things are shut down, at least temporarily, due to the pandemic. Supposedly there was some activity, possibly paranormal, experienced here. This area and the buildings have almost a Victorian aspect to them. The old Pawtucket Armory, another supposedly haunted location here in Pawtucket, Rhode Island. The old William Tolman School supposedly had some minor paranormal activity experience there. In a vacated room, typewriters were heard going off. Represented here is Reverend William Blackstone, after whom the Blackstone River is named. And yes, he did ride upon a white bull. Also developed yellow sweet apples. He married later in life when he was 64 years old. He had one son. Nobody knows where his remains are today. You know, they're lost. They were going to entomb him, build a monument over his grave, and then nobody could find his remains. They were in a box somewhere. I don't have it. Do you have it? No, I don't have it.
It remains to be seen.
It remains to be seen is right.
Richard Arkwright, and he's in central England and Derbyshire, and he's walking around going door to door buying women's hair, right? Hello ma'am, would you like to sell me your hair today? Because of those wigs that people used to wear in the 1700s, right? The really good ones were made out of actual human hair. And so similarly, like around that time in that part of England, there were mills that were starting to process wool, right? And they were using machines to spin and knit wool. And if you think about it, wool is really just hair from a sheep, right? And he's buying and selling people's hair, and he's thinking about fibers and fabrics, and he's looking around, and all of the style of the day was calico. Really nice, fine cotton fabric with prints, like different kinds of patterns printed on it. And he thought to himself, I wonder if there's a way that we can spin cotton and make cotton thread with a machine. So kind of like a mad scientist, right? He went into his workshop, he boarded the windows closed, people were trying to peek in to see what Richard Arkwright was up to. And sure enough, he created a water frame, a water-powered cotton spinning machine. Alexander Hamilton is a great example, right? He was investing in places like Paterson, New Jersey to bring manufacturing to America. Well, similarly, just a couple hundred yards from here at the falls of Pawtucket, there was a guy named Moses Brown who was attempting to use water power to spin cotton thread and frankly, failing miserably at it, right? He had never seen one of these machines actually work before. But he hears about Samuel Slater, invites him up here from New York. Samuel lives in this house for a little while. It takes them about a year, but finally, they get a water-powered cotton spinning machine to run. They even send a section of that first cotton to Alexander Hamilton, right? Manufacturing has arrived. Before long, Hamilton is creating reports to Congress. America can be a manufacturing country. That's amazing what they're doing in Pawtucket, Rhode Island. Let's do something to support this. 1793, Slater, Almy, and Brown, so Sam Slater and his investors, build this building just to spin cotton thread. This is it. This was what was built in 1792. Now, if you think about it, the mill pond is what is above the dam. That's what the dam is creating. And the mill pond is really, it's just a battery, right? It stores energy. And just like a battery, through a very carefully constructed mechanism, that energy is released in a certain way and then transferred into machines where work gets done. And that's exactly what this is too. The mill pond holds the water a few feet higher than the rest of the river. And then through this carefully constructed mill race, that water gets released, it hits a wheel, and the gravity turns the wheel, and then it drops and goes back out into the river. But think about that, right? You've got the first industrial building, you've got environmental impacts, and a federal court case. Yep, right? That sounds right. Okay, let's go inside and look at the machines. This machine is original, and it might have actually been the kind of machine they used here in this room. So this is really a magical artifact that we've got here. And what it does is it creates 2-ply thread. So it takes 2 pieces of roving, draws them out together, and then twists them together to make 2-ply thread. It's possible that Hannah Slater, Samuel's wife, invented the process of making 2-ply thread using a machine like this, right? She might have been the first woman in the United States to earn a patent for an invention. And that's the tradition. We're scouring the historical record for more documentation of that. But what you'll notice is that these wheels turn just like that one did. You get a spin and a winding on the spool all simultaneously. That's pretty amazing, right? Yeah. Can you imagine what a room filled with these machines would have sounded like or felt like, especially after your 5th hour, 6th hour, 10th hour of working on these machines? It's exciting at first, right? But I imagine it probably got a little old after a little while. Lots of real clear evidence of how dangerous it was to work in there. Certainly it was. But think of this. You have a 29, 30-year-old Samuel Slater in a building here. He's supervising maybe 50 children. He really desperately wants this to work. He wants this mill to work. He wants all of this to become successful and to prove to his investors that he actually knows what he's doing and can do this. Maybe one of the most dangerous things about working here was working for Samuel Slater, right? Like, I haven't supervised 10-year-olds. I haven't supervised, dozens of 10-year-olds, but it probably wasn't, the most pleasant or conducive or like team building sort of work environment.
Excuse me, ladies, and
to the mannequins.
I could have swore that I just went, through them without spreading them open, and they're pretty heavy because they're on wheels, They're old-fashioned mannequins from the old days with the cast iron, so they're heavy. So I remember saying, "Oh, excuse me, ladies," and I went by with my clean supplies. And as I was coming back, they were separated, so there was room to go through. And I'm like, somebody would kind of have been here, but then I would have heard them. So that was kind of spooky, I thought.
Yes, it was right at that gabled window up there that a woman in the year 2008, a tourist, saw a little girl. She claims to have seen a little girl all dressed in white, staring from out of that window. She told my brother about it, who was on tour at the time, giving the tours. And my brother believed she was sincere because she was so upset that her bottom lip was trembling. The woman claimed that she looked away. When she looked back, the little girl was still there. Now, of course, my brother Carl went inside and checked both floors as well as the basement and found that there was nobody inside there. My personal belief is that there are no spirits of deceased children lingering on in any of these three buildings. Rather, I believe it is a deception, that they are actually preternatural entities disguised as children to gain sympathy and trust. And although these entities masquerade themselves as lost children, I do not believe that Almighty God would allow the spirits of deceased children to wander aimlessly and helplessly. It was quite interesting visiting Slater Mill and the area. Some haunted locations, allegedly haunted. What did you think, Dave?
Yeah, it's always interesting to come to Slater Mill.
So it was wonderful being together as the N.E.A.R crew, going through haunted Pawtucket, Rhode Island.
Now, Main Street Bridge is Pawtucket's answer to Lover's Leap. We do not know why, through the years, numerous people have chosen to end their lives by jumping off of the bridge into the rocks and current below. If somebody really wants to lead this life, there must be an easier way. I think some people have become despairing and the water seems to call to them. So I trust everybody's in a relatively good mood tonight. Now, well, we do have guests that sometimes know somebody who has leapt off of that bridge for various reasons. Now, we're not going to tell all our stories outside, we're going to take us inside. But I'd like to share a verse, a poem I wrote with you before we go inside. It's called Nether River, like a Netherland, a nether river. Several years ago, in the early evening around this time, I was strolling along the brick walkway, and I found myself composing, which I suppose is infinitely preferable to decomposing, and I came up with this rhyme, Nether River. See if I can remember it all. Looking down the Blackstone River causes me to quake and shiver when I think it might deliver those sad souls whose lives were claimed. Ceaselessly I see it flowing, with a chill wind softly blowing, and I pause here, never knowing of the lost ones left unnamed. Moonlight on the water gleaming, carried by the river streaming, spirits flown that now are dreaming of this river never tamed. Now this is a tradition that we have on the Yule ghost hunt, the winter solstice ghost hunt, and Keith is going to assist me.
Oh, I feel like I'm lighting the torch for the Olympics tomorrow. It's amazing, my life.
Let's see if it floats or not. Season's greetings!
We have a floater. We have a floater, folks. That could end up in Narragansett Bay and go out to the Atlantic Ocean. So come forward now. Maybe we can feel you, hear you again. If you can rap on an old machine, please do so. Oh, folks, would you like to see the noisiest and most dangerous machine in our collection? I think it's on. Let's see. That would be the spinning mule. This is from 1909. It's an English machine. Now, early in this machine's evolution, children would be set back there behind the carriage to tie up threads that snap. Children can access places adults have trouble getting in and out of. So usually the mule spinner's own children would be sent back there. I wouldn't go back there. I'm too big and clumsy. I might not get out in time before the carriage swings back and crushed me. But an 8 or 9-year-old child should have little trouble getting back there, tying it up whatever threads had broken. Then they have to duck underneath the carriage. Move these rods apart from each other and towards me. If you want to speak to us. Is Becca here? They went to no and locked into no? There's someone else here who wants to communicate. Can anybody move these?
Laura?
Anyone?
Is there a Laura?
That would be wishful thinking.
Laura, come.
Is this Laura?
This is Laura.
Looks
Go
like
to
she's
Carl,
gesturing to
Laura.
everybody.
Take those rods to Carl right now.
Okay. All right. I'll call you Laura if that's all right. Look, gesturing to everybody.
Mm-hmm.
Please
Hello?
use these rods and point to where you are. Show me where you are right now. Behind me. Over here. Apparently she's over here. Okay. All right. Is there somebody here you feel a connection to? Could you point to that person? It might be someone who reminds you of someone you knew. Besides me, who's holding the rods? Please pick somebody out that you want to communicate with. Unless I can't see who that will be. Somebody over here. Is it something you said or thought? No. It seems to be pointing to you. You might remind this lady of someone she knew in life.
Son?
Son, perhaps? Does he look like your son? Yes or no, Laura?
No.
No?
Come to me.
Look like a husband?
Yeah, looking at somebody, you're looking for somebody.
She's looking for a mother.
How old are you? Can you use these rods to show us how old you are in years?
If it's 10, it might be the other.
Surprised this has this much momentum.
Yeah. No,
Put them straight out in front of you, and don't let gravity take them, and just see if you get an answer. And you can ask a question, or I can suggest a question. You might be a natural. Just hold them straight out in front so that that's it. You didn't even have a chance to ask a question. This might mean something. You can ask, does she like us being here?
Laura, do you like us being here? That's yes or no?
Try to move them apart so they don't get stuck on each other. Going to no. Does not like us being here. That's a decided no. See too. Pregunte en español. Ask a question in Spanish. Just a tack of it.
Yeah. Guys, you want to ask something?
I know what language did you speak back in those days?
Well, it's pretty much yes or no or point to.
Yeah. So Laura, ¿tú vivías aquí? Did you used to live in here? Yes or no?
Maybe she work here.
I feel like
Yeah, she doesn't like me.
Now ask a question in Polish.
Uh-oh.
I'd be surprised if you did. No,
Used to
but
be polished back those days, huh?
yeah.
Maybe someone would like to try.
Okay, that was interesting that they went to know. I mean, thank you, Claudia, because they actually, they didn't just like randomly fall. They went to, like,
No,
do you like us
usually.
being here? No,
Mm-hmm.
that might be.
I don't ask questions.
Who else really is busting to try?
He wants to try them.
Okay. Hold those out in front of you, please. And hold them up straight, like that, and see if they do anything for you. Yeah, I don't know what that means. If I was an invisible person and I could only communicate through two rods, I'd be moving them about like a semaphore. I'd be trying to make signs, and maybe that's what this person is doing for us.
Do you like the boy
Must mean something.
that's holding the rods? Is he someone you would like to play with?
And Keith, dowsing rods? Dowsing rods for you, sir. Dowsing rods for you.
Thank you, no.
Keith does not agree with the dowsing rods because they're a form of divination, and you're, in a sense, surrendering a part of your body. That it may be spirits communicating through us. Well, let me see if I get results for this. Okay. Neutral
Well, it's
position.
just neutral, but it's like, it's crossed.
Yeah.
And,
What's your name, please, sir? Andrew, what are you trying to tell Andrew? Are you trying to tell Andrew something? Two things. I'm feeling a male presence only because it, that just seems heavy suddenly. And this is just what I'm seeing. There's something whitish issuing from the rod I'm holding in my right hand at the tip. It looked like something white coming off of it, almost like steam, but not from my mouth, not from my breath. Do you want to speak to us more? You feel like you're someone else. Do you want us to leave this place? Do you want us to leave?
no, they want to play. Where's the ball?
This person wants us to leave, and it's moving very sluggish. Okay. Do you mind if we stay a few more minutes? Till we warm it up in here a little bit? Neutral, not saying anything, just answered, wants us to leave. Okay.
That's a good question.
If I hold these rods much longer, it's going to seem like the longest night of the year. Do you know this is the longest night of the year? Do you know that? Yes or no? Yes. For yes, you move the rods apart from each other towards me. For no, you cross them over. Do you know this is the longest night? I just heard your rods click together. Yes. Married right here in the parlor. Now this is the parlor, also known as the good room, and this was usually a place of some merriment, because guests such as young Samuel or Slater were received in the parlor, holiday meals taken up here, wedding ceremonies performed in the house in the parlor room. But this could also be a room of some sorrow and reflection, because in those days when persons died, traditionally their wakes and funerals would be held in the house, in the parlor room. And the deceased person would be laid on the parlor table for a period of 3 days. That was the wake. That was out of respect, also to ensure the deceased person was really so. After 3 days, that's probably a take.
Is anybody sensing anything in this area? You feel the elements?